Welcome everybody, welcome to this podcast stroke vlog. I know that there's a few people who say it can't be a podcast because we're filming it. I say listen to it on Spotify, and it's just a podcast. So if you're listening to some podcast or on Spotify, hello, this is just voices. If you're watching it, it's both, and you know this because you're watching it. But if you can't hear what we're saying, I have no help to give you. We have today the first, I think, of potentially independent councillors for the fair town of Chippenham. James Bradbury, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. Sounds a bit creepy. James, how are you?
Yeah, very well, thank you. Yourself?
Yeah, I'm not so bad. All the better for meeting you. I'm very inspired by all the people I've met so far on these political podcasts. How I got myself into doing these, I'll never know. But let's just imagine it's for the greater good of our community, because a lot of potential candidates can't get out and canvass because of COVID. So because they can't canvass because of COVID, we are going to do this for them with you and allow people to talk about the reasons why. Some people are long-standing, long-sitting councillors, and people like yourself. Is this the first time that you've gone for local?
Yeah, it's the first time I've done anything like this, yeah.
What gave you the inspiration this time? What's changed in your life that you thought, no, I've got to get involved?
So I thought for a while that politics hasn't been working for people in this country, and locally and nationally. Locally seems like a good place to get involved. There's some issues locally that I know that people are concerned about, and I'd like to see more sustainable solutions to some of these issues. And I wonder what the blockers are. I've been petitioning for a while. You write letters to MPs and councillors, and you sign petitions and so on, and you wonder why nothing much seems to happen, and we're not getting new ideas and new solutions coming. So
have you ever thought about giving them some money? Because that always works, James. If you're just going to do the old, my name and loads of other names, no, your name will have to have something attached to it, like some money or a big multinational organisation.
So the individual person, I agree with you.
That's how it works,
isn't it? Well, it is then. It is. Okay. So that's why it doesn't work, because it's morally bankrupt. If it's not ethically, it's bankrupt. I don't think for 1 second the local voices are heard anywhere near. I mean, the town and parish councils need to start standing up for themselves, possibly, but also for their towns and villages, because what's happening just on a Wiltshire perspective is quite shocking, really, and quite tawdry, I think. But you probably know a little bit more about it because you're the person who has been writing these petitions or signing them. What sort of petitions are you thinking?
So mostly small things to do with sustainable transport or to do with development of the town. Certainly, I'm not alone in disapproving of the development for the housing infrastructure and the road to the east of Chippenham, and the huge change that would be. So that's one sort of motivating issue for me. I think that's concerned a lot of people.
Absolutely, I think that also to do with having Zoom or having people tuned in via the internet. The access for people to get involved is probably, and everyone's locked down, they've got little else to do. Tell you how bad things are, that people are starting to find council meetings interesting. So, good luck with that, James. However, I do think that all the council meetings should be Zoomed, should be filmed. People should be able to access that. From now on, that should be a movement forward. How would you change things then? And who are you standing for? What's your
I'm standing independent.
Ladies and gentlemen, an independent, which is kind of, I can't even understand how at such a local level people do that party politics thing. I mean, I've met some conservatives, although I don't think they know that they're not really conservatives, just so you know that you have been fooled. The Lib Dems, fantastic people, great team. Actually, the two conservatives are lovely. Teresa Hutton, I don't know if you've met her yet, she's the mayor. Absolutely wonderful. I was totally, I almost said besotted there, but that just sounds ridiculous, okay? But I was really impressed with her as a human being. However, when you are doing the work of the devil of the Conservatives at a local level, and you're not from the elite, you haven't got an elite background, I kind of think you don't quite understand, and bless you. But why are you an independent?
Well, I've never had a particular allegiance to any political party, and I've actually, in my lifetime, at a national level, voted for probably most of the main political parties at some time or other.
You voted Conservative?
Years ago, probably. I don't remember, but
What
I
were
think
you
I may have
smoking?
done.
Where were you living? Where were you living?
Somewhere more conservative than here. I was more like South Bucks area, so
Oh, right, okay.
it was that kind of area.
Yeah.
And at the time, that made sense to me. But
Yeah.
so I don't have a particular allegiance to a political party. I don't think the party politics, as you point out, I don't think it's helped in local towns and
Doesn't help in local countries.
so perhaps it helps individual candidates with their funding. I don't know how that works. But,
I keep banging on about this, and Julius here and his brother Louis have threatened me, actually, behind the scenes. They threaten me on a regular basis. So I just want to put it out there. If you don't see me again, either the Conservatives have got me, Boris and his boys, the Bullingdon Club, this chap has been talking about us on this little minuscule podcast. Who does he think he is? He's in some disused shop in Chippenham talking about Boris's hair, about the Bullingdon Club. I wonder what do the local Conservatives think about the Bullingdon Club? Please, another Conservative councillor come on this, just so I can ask you about that, because if I can help you, I will. You're right, though, aren't you? The whole it is probably about funding, and it's about the idea. I know that I've talked to people before who've ended up representing the Conservatives and say, "What are you doing?" And they were supposed to be Christian as well. I think the two things they're mutually exclusive. You can't be a Christian and a Conservative if you know either about the two things. Not that I agree with the organised religion, as you'll probably work out as we go along. However, party politics is merely to allow people to have majorities and to manipulate and manoeuvre certain situations. I would think that this housing development that no one in Chippenham appears to want, and there's good reason, because they couldn't legislate for people living in Chippenham up to this point, that's the Bridge Centre, or what was the Bridge Centre. That's the sort of mentality we're dealing with. People who know little or nothing about society or communities, certainly young people, certainly the hardships, making decisions based on what the National Party is talking about, and it's to the detriment of everyone's lives. It's I don't think they quite understand, not just on a pollution level, but on a psychic level, if we could even say that, how it's interfering with the everyday workings of our community. So if you're talking about the Distributor Road project and
yes.
And this housing thing, what's your thoughts and opinions on that?
My thoughts and opinions are that our farmland is very valuable. Not only for recreation, but for our food security and for flood defence and it's, climate mitigation as well. And the idea of people connecting with, understand their community farms, giving people the opportunity to connect with how their food is made. I think a lot of us forget that. It just appears on the shelf. We assume it's always going to be there. It's always going to be cheap and available to us. And I think we all forget that none of us can actually really achieve anything very much on our own. None of us pull ourselves up by our bootstraps. I couldn't brush my teeth without somebody who made my toothbrush. Parents who taught me how to brush my teeth.
Yes.
And, none of us could read or write without teachers. And all these things. I hope that with the pandemic, some of us have started to realise that there's these things, key workers, essential workers, and they keep everything running. And from keeping the lights on, the water running, and things delivered, and so on. And this is not appreciated. And community is a part of that as well. Community provides an awful lot to us locally that is often invisible. Yeah,
I define it as common unity, common unity, that which unifies us commonly. And you've hit on those, the idea that we have a shared water system and it should not be privatised. All the utilities, that's such a heinous
They're not luxuries, these things, are they? They're essentials, and everybody needs them, so why not do them
absolutely,
in a fair and equitable way?
Who's seriously going to say, no, you're okay, I won't be having any water this week? No one. Who's going to be saying, however the power gets to your house, and it should be renewable if we've got any intelligence amongst us, it should be renewable. So therefore our utilities, sewer, the water, the electric or the gas, all should be part of our common ownership, because we have a common responsibility to not to shareholders, but to each other, to maintain those things. So why would we? It's such a con. Oh, there's so many cons that we've been conned by the conservatives. That's probably why they call that. Anyway, we're a sustainable development organisation. We've worked up and down the country in lots of different arenas. So I'm totally with you on lots of things you just said. What is it you think at a local level, though, that you can change? Because I've been watching the news, and I still see Philip, is it Whitehead who runs this?
Yeah.
It's like he bless him, come on this show, Philip, you're gorgeous, man. He's northern, so he can't be conservative, that's just crazy. It's like, what's his name? Buckland, who's Welsh. It's like, you can't be Welsh and conservative. It's just, these things that you can't be Christian and conservative. You can't be Welsh and conservative. You can't be Northern and conservative. Basically, if you aren't born, if you're not a direct descendant of William the Conqueror, you ain't conservative. All right, next thing. Sorry about this, James. It's just one of those. I've got this sort of brain that it doesn't work in the way that it should, maybe, or people would appreciate it should do. Do you think, on a local level, you are going to be able to change any of the decisions that these people that, for whatever reason, think that just shoving loads of houses, because the government, like this government who couldn't run a bath, let alone run a country, are saying, you've got to have these new houses and stuff in Chippenham. They don't care about Chippenham. They don't care about Wiltshire. They don't care about our children. What are you going to do? How are you going to do it? What do you think the next steps are?
Well, I'm new to this. I don't know how much I'll be able to achieve, but
Yeah.
I'm going to try. I'm going to do what I can. I think for a start, it's about us pushing back to Wiltshire Council from Chippenham.
Yeah.
And I know there's people who would like to run for Wiltshire Council as well. I'm not there. I can find the time to do that. But pushing back to Wiltshire Council, getting people involved locally, and actually showing them what good could look like, showing them how infrastructure projects that we can do, small things locally that actually make people feel like more of a community, not feel so separated. We're not all sitting on our houses on the internet talking to people who are miles away necessarily all the time, but actually sort of going out and maybe building something together, maybe planting up a community garden, or tidying up some litter or something, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Actually makes people feel
absolutely. No, I agree. Actually getting involved on lots of levels, and these other podcasts that we've been doing, vlogs, whatever you want to call them, are about other organisations. We've been talking to the Allotment Society. It's fantastic. Do you garden at all?
We garden a little bit. It's mostly my wife, if I'm honest.
Yeah, well,
but, we're fortunate to have a garden.
Exactly.
Stick a bit of fruit and veg in it.
Yeah, there you go. So the fortunate to have a garden is right. We have an allotment which we use mainly with our young people to show them how food. Like you said it yourself earlier. I think these community farms moving forward is a combination of the climate emergency, or the breakdown of the climate, which probably we would, if we were looking at our future survival, think, how are we going to get food supplied locally? Oh, we possibly should use the land that we have locally. Oh, you can't, because you build loads of houses on it and it's all flooded. No, don't build any more houses. Community farms, the council farms. I believe people that they should be re-engaged to supply the locality. They're all over the place, aren't they? So just take Wiltshire. We're going to take Wiltshire. You other people have your own counties and you deal with them as you will. But in Wiltshire, our community or council farms should be supplying the local markets, the local people, schools, nursing homes, you name it, at a very affordable rate for seasonally grown, organic food, non-animal, all plant-based. And I keep mentioning the non-animal thing. I don't know what your own thoughts are, but we've been conned around animals and dairy and all that sort of stuff for years. It isn't fundamentally that good for us, and on a climatic breakdown scenario, we'd be better off not growing cows. For all you people out there that love cows, bless you, have them as pets, but do not feed them to our children. It's wrong and it's not good for you. However, a local source of food, and the reason I'm saying about Brexit is there's about 40% up to today, 40% reduction in trade between this country and Europe, and that'll be teething problems, I'm sure, and all sorts of stuff, and some political manoeuvring. But the idea of shipping in food from all over, we go, you know.
I understand that, you know, as a country, we import 80% of our food and food ingredients.
Yeah.
So, you know, Yorkshire tea, it's British. It's not grown. It's not grown in Yorkshire, is it? Is it?
It's funny, isn't it? Really, it's Yorkshire tea. I can drink a Yorkshire. Where do you grow it then? I think you can. I think people have started growing it then.
Okay.
Not necessarily
on
Yorkshire.
scale, not at scale.
No, I think you're right. It's not on scale. It's not on scale, but yeah, Yorkshire tea. What does that actually
what would
mean?
Britain be without tea, really? You know?
What would Britain be without an empire?
Well,
What would Britain be if it hadn't basically gone around the world and robbed and killed and raped people on massive industrial levels and stole all the wealth? What would the Vatican be without the same? Anyhow, these more important questions we can... Shut up, Julius. You're looking at me going, I know, mate, we had the Pope on the phone earlier on. He's not happy. It's like, yeah, I'm not surprised he's not happy wearing that
You'll be
dress.
on the podcast tomorrow.
He will be. Oh, I'd love it. I'd love religious people, not because I want to do anything other than get them to prove what they believe. That would be hilarious. But also, it's like the game's up. The game's up on organised religion. The game's up on organised party politics. If people haven't realised that, regardless of what the party that's in is doing, somehow it doesn't filter down to the people that need it most.
I think people have a feeling of learned helplessness. I mean, people have been saying for a long time things like, you know, it doesn't matter who you vote for, the government always gets in.
Yeah.
And while that is sort of, in a sense, literally true, it does sort of feed into this idea that actually it doesn't matter what you do, they're going to do whatever they want. And this is really problematic because it means that they can do whatever they want because you've given them license to do it by having this learned helplessness.
Yeah.
And so
It's good
I think
phrase.
You know, people need to fight back. They talk about, you know, they have these learned helplessness. It comes from this idea that there's an elephant, and when they're really baby elephants, they put a stake in the ground and they chain the elephant to this stake, and the little baby elephant can't pull the stake out of the ground. But as the elephant grows up, it's a fully sized adult elephant, it could easily rip that stake out of the ground. But it's learned. It learned that it can't. It learned that it can't, so it never tries.
Yeah.
And I think it's like that, you know.
Wow, that is great. Have you got any more of those little singing? That's fantastic. People, this is what I'm saying to you. Say, why is this fat Egypt Deedigan talking about this stuff on a podcast or a vlog? Because in the 23 years I've been working at Can Do Arts for Sustainable Development, the underlying stories of deprivation and climate breakdown and actually the turmoil we're really in, and all the tricks, the smoke and mirrors that the politicians who are only representing major corporate interests, remember, they're not representing either their family or their communities. They're literally put into places just to get the vote to go, right, now we're going to build this, now we're going to do backhanders, contracts, HS2, what a load of all crap. Anyone in the South Swahili town of Makuku who just heard that and thinks I was insulting their sheep, I wasn't. You haven't got any sheep. You've got cows. So I think that when you said about people fighting back, in a sense, the information getting to people in a way that, and you've just done it, that was a beautiful analogy about the elephant, about how they in themselves see themselves in relation to not just the rest of their family, the rest of their street, if they've got lucky to have a house, the rest of the community. It's that shared idea of, and you're right, it's like people go, oh, what's the point? Why? It's like, yes, of course, that's what they want you to think. It's like organised religion. The sacred mysteries of what? What is the sacred mysteries that you're selling here? We've got science, we understand now that some of the stories we've been told as children and as deliberately, I was going to say, disembued, disemboweled, dysentery. We've been kept from all sorts of information that if we'd had it at any point in our lives, we wouldn't make the same decisions. Nobody in their right mind, if they understood the full implications of pollution, would happily live near loads of cars. So why we think that we would have, moving forward, that we'd have more roads, regardless of what you think about the houses, more roads, it's like, no, it's totally retrograde. It's completely the opposite of what's needed. oh, you know, we'd have less congestion if we had more roads. It's like, no, we'd have less congestion. We've had less cars.
Yeah, I had a fantastic quote on that the other day. Somebody said that adding roads or adding lanes to solve congestion is a bit like loosening your belt to solve obesity.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's going to provide temporary relief.
Absolutely.
It's just going to leave you more room to grow.
Yes, you need to totally approach it a different way. And I get it, if you've been a councillor and you've been talking about these things pre-pandemic and think these are the big agendas. We've got a festival coming up, and there's debate at the moment because obviously people in the council are going, wait a minute, 21st, you can't have a festival, we'll have a virtual festival. Calm down, people. We'll have a virtual festival even if we can't. If for whatever reason Boris Johnson, and I can't ever believe he would be wrong about anything, is wrong about the fact that releasing, getting everyone back into schools and we're key workers, just in case everyone thinks that I'm sitting around being a thing, we're key workers working with vulnerable people all the way through all the lockdowns. So we see it from a completely different angle. If there's a lockdown still on the 21st, we'll do a virtual one. But if it's not, we're going to have an opening up festival, which we hope that Chippenham Town Council get their act together and support it, because it would be ridiculous. We can't go at the pace of the old councils. Not only do they not represent us properly, they don't move fast enough. And it's not about scrutiny. We need rigour and scrutiny in every part of our communities. What you don't need is people at a local level deliberately voting against or abstaining regardless of the issues because their bigger party thinks it. So I think, like Frome, I think it is, and Melksham maybe, all independents.
Yes.
Everybody at a local level. And I think also, I know this can sound crazy, I think that, like drug tests in certain careers, I think there should be randomly politicians, particularly ones that make decisions, should have polygraphs, lie detectors.
Lie detectors.
Yeah.
Not just have their accounts sifted through.
No, that would be good as well.
Yeah.
That would be good.
Yeah.
But actually, I think that Boris Johnson, his would make great reading. Imagine all the things that if you were living in the north of Ireland, and you happen to be from the old Scottish tradition, and you're living in Northern Ireland, and you're thinking that they helped Theresa May and they helped the Conservatives stay in, and they were totally shafted straight off. It's like, when are you going to learn? You cannot trust a lot of people, particularly those that were sent away as children to be raised by strangers. You're talking about, so these county farms, is it the same land that they're thinking about putting houses on?
That's what I understand. Yeah, I understand it's good quality farmland as well. I don't know anything about farming, but that's what I've heard.
See, there's a bit of me who wants to give up, and there's a few people out there like that I wish he would, or like yourself. And I say I'm only coming out with all this partly because I know what I'm talking about, because I've been fed it by really intelligent people over many years, working in different parts of the country, in different areas of society, with the hardest to reach, also with ministers and all sorts of great decision makers and great business things. And it seems to me that lots of decisions are forced on local councils. The youth service was evaporated by the former whoever's. I think one got a baroness or became a dame because of it. I mean, what an appalling thing. Let's sell the kids' future. If you were elected, and I'm kind of hoping you are, I think, obviously if you were independent, if you sat there independent and you were really a conservative, and you were just doing it because you didn't like the rest of the people in your party, I'd probably want to expose you, sir, and say, oh, you're a scoundrel. There's a few people, if you look at their record, that are now independents who were former conservatives. So,
yes.
You know what I mean? It's like, you're not independent. You just probably don't get the rest of your people, because you've all looked around the room and realised that none of you are real conservatives. But that's a different story. So you are really, you basically said you voted for everyone across your time. You realised that potentially party politics isn't going to work. Are there any other? How many other? I know that do you know Sandy Webb?
I've heard the name. Yes.
Yeah. She's been in and around doing lots of stuff in the town. Businesswoman, really successful football club. Her and Dougie, they're real community people who've done lots of initiatives. I guess it doesn't matter to me what her I think she's independent now as well, actually. I think she used to be Lib Dem, she's independent. It's like, okay, well, I don't know what that's about, but actually everybody should be independent. Do you have any conversations with the current councillors? Is there any support for you to understand what it is you're letting yourself in for? Because I can paint this wall, you can watch the paint.
Not a huge amount, no. But I've spoken to a couple of independent councillors.
Yeah.
I've been on to the Chipping Town Council Zoom calls.
Yeah.
And very well run, actually.
Yeah.
The one I was on had a huge amount of public engagement about this housing infrastructure.
Right.
It was I was on it, and it was nice to see a lot of engagement.
Unbelievable. That's why I don't get, what's his name, Philip Whitehead or whatever his name is. It's like, are you crazy? Well, he obviously doesn't live in Chippenham, but do they really think that when you see, it's one, the thing about the working classes of which I am, well, I'm actually underclass because we're Irish immigrant, economic immigrants, so we don't really count at all, other than being gorgeous. So from my perspective, looking at the community is like, wow, okay, how do the English people put up with that? Why do they not stand up and go, you are kidding? I guess they're not made the same way, but it's one of them ones. The local decision makers in our parishes, in our towns, should have much more power. I'm not as individuals, but we should surely be making decisions. We're going to have all these houses thrust upon us. What do they think our community, they care obviously, but what do the local councillors that might even, do any of the councillors, by the way, agree with that? I keep going off on the subject.
Any of them agree with it? Well, they voted unanimously to reject it and push back on to Wiltshire Council.
Right.
Obviously, some of them must have agreed with starting it up in the first place. I understand there was, to make that bid for the 75 million. I think some of them must have been involved in that bid initially.
Yeah. Well, it's not great. I'll keep the 75 million because let's face it, if you didn't know that the money was a magic money tree, you know it now, right? You surely must know this, people, that if the people in power say, oh no, we're going to spend it, they'll get it from anywhere, they'll literally print it. So don't ever worry about it, it's an illusion, the economy. But £75 million would be about the right amount we're going to need to ease the mental health problems, the tsunami of mental health problems. I say young people, old people, anybody and everybody has been affected by this pandemic. People that had
regenerate the town centre, sports.
What would
and
you do
social
with it?
clubs.
What would you do with it then? Look, we're in the town centre. What would you do with it?
So we have to think about something. I mean, there's a lot of shops, aren't there, that have struggled in the pandemic. And so, what are we going to do with those spaces?
Yeah.
Are we going to do something? I mean, this is a nice use of the space.
Yeah.
You've got artwork and you've got sports
and there will be talks here, and this will be
a
social space.
Yeah.
There's going to be recycled clothes being made. There's a music studio downstairs. It's that the reason I was about Sandy Webb and Ross Henning and those good people are setting up well, it was EcoHub initially, but a hub for information in the opposite. Now that makes perfect sense. That there's a way, signpost you to all sorts of, as we do here, to all sorts of support groups and what have you. But you see that this is an Eagle one who supports here. It's fantastic, and we're going to do on the 21st. We're going to do all sorts of use these empty shops and the atrium as a venue. What would you do other than that, though? What sort of things can you use a space for?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think retail has changed a lot, and I think it's probably less a case of places where we buy things and places where we have services and social entertainments and things.
Yeah. But what you say social entertainment, I mean, I'm sorry to press you.
It's not happening at the moment, is it?
No. I'm not even about a post-pandemic scenario. Children don't need maths and English when they've been handed badly taught potentially by some people, and just in a context which probably wasn't conducive for either parents, support workers, or anyone else that was having to do it in that context. But the thing that people, particularly young people, are lacking is socialisation. So we're doing a summer school, we do every year anyway, but we're doing we're trying to get more people involved in looking at from toddlers and parents to re-engage with other groups, because it's going to be quite a worrying time when people come out of... You know what I mean?
We won't know how to talk to people. I mean, we've all lost it. It's like I have to make actual eye contact with people. This is new.
Yeah, no, you were totally right.
But in terms of what to do with the space, I think that's probably an ideal opportunity to use participatory democracy.
Fantastic.
Get people together and say, right, we've got all your good ideas out. Let's all have a big think about it. And we can discuss them. And when we've filtered out those ideas, we can have a bit of actual votes on them and get everybody involved in doing it. And then people will buy into the idea and they won't be grumbling about it so much. And, hopefully more people will get involved.
Absolutely. It does seem like it's been set up so people, even if they're mildly interested in politics, it's like, oh no, that's not for me. Not even, some of them, unfortunately, they've lost faith. And what will be the turnout of these next elections?
Yeah, well, it depends if people are voting online or voting postal voting.
Do you know what? If you were to look at society, if you didn't understand, okay, imagine that you're a working class person living in Chippenham and you're representing the Conservative Party, right? Well, there's your first thing. You don't understand much about the Conservatives then, if you're doing that. So bless you, but you want to do your best. So you go on and you represent them county or a town level. Nothing in comparison. Bears no relationship. Your life bears no relationship to the people that started that party.
Didn't go to Eton.
Well, there you go. That's it. Didn't go to Eton. When you see a pig's head, you probably don't get aroused. It's one of them ones, isn't it? It's a different culture, and if they don't understand that basic thing, it kind of. And there are people that are actually involved in politics. So what hope as the average person, again, which I am, are just because of the nature of the work that we do, we just see every angle of it. We see, I've been to the Home Office, but I've also been walking the streets of Brixton and other places I'm saying Brixton because people know, we've worked in loads of other places in London and up and down the country, which, for whatever reason, deprivation has been able to thrive. It's criminal in some sense because of the governments that have allowed that to happen, fostered that whole idea. Homelessness. All of a sudden, a pandemic comes, and then there's no homelessness. But when it's okay to unlock again, you can kick people out on the street again. Yeah. People that have had businesses, they're still paying rents to landlords. They can't use their businesses. People, join in everyone at home once this affects you. Jobs that they thought were really for life, or that they were really needy or needed and important. Ask yourselves, if through lockdown you have been furloughed, I get it if you work in a pub, and I get that, and I have friends who own pubs, and I love the pub myself personally. Nothing to do with the alcohol, just to do with the company. Why do I go on my own? Because I want to go on my own, James, thanks. Go on my own just to keep the place warm, okay? And if there's no one else in there, it just helps the person behind the bar think that they're doing something good, which they are. It's serving me beer. Anyhow, the idea of looking at what life the reset element of this 21st I'm talking about is we cannot work in the same way. We can't organise our communities in the same way. You're completely right about the county farms. If I say you're completely right, James, you kind of get, oh my God, Ed Deegan said I'm completely right. I must go back to bed now, and I'm so excited. But I would like to have lots of conversations with all the people that advise our local government and our national government, and see what their experience is. Any of the councillors, any of the Chippenham councillors, any of the Wiltshire councillors who want to compare their working lives and their experiences across all those different indicators of how societies work, I will have that conversation. I will try my hardest to maintain a certain amount of decorum. But if there ain't apples, why would you want a decorum? Stop it, Julius. That's apple juice, by the way, from our local allotment, which I want to give you a bottle of that, James.
That's good.
It's absolutely amazing. Our young people pick the apples. You've heard of slave labour, yeah? Child labour. It's really good. You get them for free. Shut up. We don't. It's gorgeous, apple juice, from our allotment up at Hardnursh. We need a resetting of society. Town centres, yeah. They were talking about the Porter's, Mary Porter's pilot about, 5 years ago, I don't know when it was, £100,000 to regenerate town centres. 5 years ago. They've known that town centres are going to go down the whatever. They've talked about the emergence of online shopping for at least a decade. right? So nothing's changed. If you happen to own a shopping centre, you have space. These could be changed, couldn't they? They could be changed into accommodation.
Yes.
This could be a whole complex. You know, I've no doubt that Tesco will own this sooner or later. They'll probably consume the shop next door. We'll have multi markets, but there won't be local shops or there won't be local suppliers. What do you think about independent stores, and should there be a way to generate them and cut down on their rates and their rent and all that sort of stuff?
Yeah, it'd be nice to do that. I think, and that linking that in with local farms as well.
Yeah, county farms, even if local farmers don't want to do it. County farms, which we as the people own. This is the other thing about our parks and stuff, and the council. I think we need councillors to. I know, you know, if you do this, I might come to some of your meetings and just stand up and say, remember everyone, you're serving the people. They're not serving you. If this was a pyramid, it would be inverted. You would be at the bottom. So if you work for local government, you're basically a servant of the people. I don't think people should disrespect you and treat you submissively, or you should act submissively. But you kind of have to really get it. If you're the head of Wiltshire Council, you're also the bottom. Listen, not that bottom. Stop it, Jeff.
You're saying that everyone in the county is your boss, is that person's boss?
Yes. Everyone that works for council and everyone that represents the local thing, there's totally the wrong way around. They say, yeah, we're going to, regardless of what Chippenham say, we're going to put these houses and stuff. I don't think they understand what war looks like. You can't get this. Well, I'm sorry, I didn't finish the point earlier on. Didn't finish many points since I started my life. You can dismiss the working classes until it becomes something that becomes so enraging on a local level that they'll kick off, right? You can't do that with the middle classes. You cannot rattle middle class. I'm going to say sabres, but they don't have sabres. They have, I don't know what they have, but they have tandems or something. They have something nice. They're well educated. They have they're sufficiently connected to the rest of society that they understand what deprivation and the potential clashes and conflicts of interest with those that haven't. The aristocracy, or the people that live on these large estates, are completely removed physically and emotionally and psychologically from our society, so they shouldn't have any votes. Get rid of the House of Lords. That's ridiculous. Have an elected second chamber if you need to have elected. Nothing like America, please, but you can have an elected second chamber if you like. House of Lords, absurd. Get rid of the House of Commons, replace it up in Coventry, make it a round building, make it for accommodation as well as everything else. There's none of this stealing more public money by pretending that you've got a house with a duck moat that's got gold that they need the teeth replacing every 12 minutes. It's not good. I just don't think, and maybe they do, maybe the local politicians thinking, oh my God, got loads of middle class, intelligent, empathetic people engaged in a subject. We'll not get away with this. Do you know what I mean? Do you not think that? Do you think?
I like to think that they won't get away with it.
Oh, they won't get away with it. Well, I have the lips and they're going, oh, can someone shoot that lad, as in me? Shoot me with a camera, perhaps. How dare you, Julius? I wish there was a camera here so people could see what he's doing.
Making cheeky faces at you.
He's doing all sorts. I mean, the kid in there, God, you can't get these kids today. You can't beat them, you can't eat them, and you can't shoot them. Anyway. The motivating the middle classes is a big mistake. They vote. They also have disposable income. They have intelligence. They have communication systems. If I was Philip Whitehead, I would remember my northern roots and start being nice about things. I'd listen and go, oh mate, you know what? You can't build these houses here. They ain't having it. We need to look at a different way of doing whatever it was they wanted to do, but still keep the £75 million. We need £75 million. I'll go with that. We need £75 million, 50 million for the youth and children and catch up and emotional and mental health and everyone's mental health. And the other 25 million, what are you going to spend it on, mate? I've given you the 25 million now. What would you do?
You've covered youth and mental health services.
Yeah, for everyone. So
it's not for everybody, but
yeah.
It's particularly going to affect the youth.
Yes.
Yeah, so I'd like to do some things with the town centre and sustainable transport. I'd like to
Tell us, what do you mean sustainable?
So I'd like it to be, it's not a big town we have here. I'd like the default for most people to be to walk, to cycle, or to take a bus into town. From the far side of Chipping, you can walk into town. It's half an hour, maybe 40 minutes if you walk slowly. It's not the end of the world.
But what happens if you're a senior citizen or someone with a disability? What would you say?
So there should be buses as well.
Oh right, so you're talking about a park and ride even?
Park and ride would be great, yeah. You don't even have to park. You just, or
you
walk
don't.
up.
You just go. I was going to say, you parked, outside my house. Brilliant. You parked. Okay, so you go. You're talking about a system like buses, but hopefully with not fossil fuels, that picked up more regularly, and you just go into town. So you pedestrianise most of this, would you?
That would be lovely, yeah.
Wow, I love it.
Yeah.
I love that idea.
Yeah.
So how far would you go though?
Yeah, that's again, it's one of these things
you
have
could
to
get everyone
consult.
together and say, look, what would it be like if we had this much? I sometimes feel quite sorry for a few friends who are beyond, I was going to say beyond the pale, but I mean they're beyond the arches. And when that bid idea, which was kind of ludicrous in lots of ways, it was just a money-making venture for certain people, bad idea. Getting all the businesses to pay on their rates for people in sort of matching t-shirts essentially to around the town have no emotional connection with the place and are not here once the money's gone. That there should be a more inclusive dialogue between all of the shops, all of the independents. It's a hard one with these big well, here you go. This was Dorothy Perkins.
Yes.
Where's she gone? Where's Dorothy gone? Hey, she gone. She was here. She gone. Dorothy, it's the Wizard of Oz. Oh, Toto.
I don't think big shops are going to come back. I don't know whether I think that's a good idea or not a good idea. I think there's loads of stuff that's been made that, as far as the climate breakdown is concerned, shouldn't be made anyway. Plastic toys and stuff like that, cheap crap. We shouldn't have it. Not because coming from a poorer background, I like accessibility for everyone, but you can't just have cheap stuff made for the sake of it, for the idea of capitalism, because us within our context, within the climate, can't afford it. So a pedestrianised, more socially focused town centre. How do you envisage that? What do you envisage? People coming down, more coffee shops? What are we talking about? What are we saying?
Yeah, coffee shops, open social spaces. That sort of thing. Sort of activities to do necessarily other than just buying stuff.
Yes.
Buying stuff that you probably don't need and you're going to throw out a year later or whatever. And some of it potentially housing as well. That's not a terrible use of the space.
It's already been built on, isn't it? So whatever here or some of the
brownfields, isn't it?
It is. Yes. So we could probably get a lot of our housing needs. If what this idea of having these housing estates, here would be a way to ensure that the middle classes don't rise up, the working classes, because why don't they sequester? Is it sequester? Don't know if the word sequester, that's what you do with carbon, isn't it? Sequester. These big estates that we've got in Wiltshire, like Spy Park and there's a few others. Why don't we build? When you do you can claim back the land.
Commandeer it.
Commandeer. Thank you. Yeah. So this is why you should be running for local election, and I should just be running for the next bus. Unfortunately, we don't have a very good bus. Actually, we do have buses for the Chippenham, but not enough. The old estates, the old with mansion houses and all that sort of stuff, they're enclosed, aren't they? Why don't we just put houses in there?
I haven't thought about that.
No, I don't think anyone has. Do you know what I'm saying?
It's an interesting question.
You say, look guys, you've got one family, you've got about 10 kids if you're lucky, probably not. Way too much land, this is absurd. You're either going to hand over your golf courses or your whatever you've got on them, and you're going to build houses for the people, and you're going to re-embrace it. You're going to say sorry for all these years of oppression. You're going to have a kiss and a dance, maybe not a kiss, but you're going to be dancing and singing and embracing it and going, yes, it's not our fault that we are descendants of William the Conqueror and we have basically lived off the back of everyone for all these years. We are going to put our hands up and say, yes, violence and control is no longer the way forward. We are opening our doors. We are giving this land here so that for the common good. Anyone who currently owns one of those estates who wants to come in and talk about that is more than welcome at any time. If I find out that you've had me assassinated, in my next life I will come back as a conservative and ruin everything for you. Okay, carry on, James.
So I'm thinking about the land use there. I mean, is that farmland? A lot of that as well. Could it be used as farmland? Is it really brownfields land? There's a lot of open space there.
Yeah.
Is that somewhere we should be looking for parks, recreation? That sort of thing.
Yeah, I mean, Bowood used to have a growing season, didn't it? Back in the day, strawberries and stuff. Pick your own. There's lots of land around, isn't there? There's big estates, Spy Park, the big estates. It's like, look, man, you've had your time, you've had a laugh. If we need these houses, I'd like the Wiltshire Council to say, look, everyone, we need these houses. Prove that they need the houses. They're going to be environmentally sound ones. They're not going to be these old crap ones that they keep selling. People just keep getting given in these little boxes and what have you. We're gonna reposition them on the old estates of the aristocracy that are no longer gonna have their positions because they don't want them. They realise it was it's a ridiculous thing to have since 1066 and all that sort of good stuff. Here's a portion of my land. You can grow food, organic food for the locality, to be more inclusive, to be more part of the solution as opposed to just being the parasites that some people have thought that they have been all these generations. Discuss. They won't do it, will they? I don't. Well, they may. Eventually, they will. If they were going to though build these houses regardless, what do you think the likely outcome is going to be?
I think it's going to make traffic worse. I think there's going to be a lot of people commuting out of Chippenham, which is a problem. So there already are a lot of people. I used to commute out to Bristol or Bath, or there'll be people going to Swindon or even London.
Yeah.
And that sort of fractures the community because those people aren't invested in the town. They don't only sleep here. It's really
dormitory town. It's been a dormitory town for years.
Yeah.
It's only ever got worse. What again, Philip Whitehead, whoever, come onto this, to talk to people and say, yeah, this is why I think this, because I just can't work it out. I can't work out other than, and then let's say the government, like who's going to listen in their right mind? I mean, seriously, Boris Johnson and his mates should all be arrested. Seriously, they should all be arrested for corporate manslaughter. They are the wrong people at the wrong time. It's just their principles anyway. Forget about the pandemic, awful. Absolutely, totally without any sort of humanity in them at all. Real parasites of the worst possible nature. I don't know if I put that in plain enough terms for everyone out there. But that's Philip Whitehead, whoever is saying, well, the government, like, why would you listen? Why would you listen? It's like, look, you can't be trusted when you get one chance to prove your mettle in this world. There's a pandemic. I don't know, what should we do? Cheltenham races, anyone? No, Boris, you've got to stop. You've got to close the airports. You just got to... I don't know, I think I'd go around and I'll shake loads of people's hands. Yeah. I'm going to listen to everything you've got to say about everything, Boris. You're a genius. And can someone please swap this Prime Minister for one that works? Yeah? I feel sorry for Boris. No, I do, actually. On a humane level, I'm being serious. I do think, mate, you've been primed by whoever to do this and to pretend that you're politically motivated to do stuff, and you're passing all these things so your mates get contracts, and you've just contributed. Remembering that they said 20,000 people, they thought 20,000 people were going to die. That sounds like Prince Charles suddenly coming in. I'm here as well. Why are you here, Prince Charles? Go back. You've got enough problems with your brother. I just don't get, when they said that there was going to be 20,000 people dead, there's over 120,000 people dead, and yet they're still making decisions on anything. It's like, no, hold it, everyone, calm down. No more decision making, particularly by these buffoons, until all the people have stopped dying. You're still going to do HS2 while this is happening. You're still going to try and force things through in Wiltshire. Nah, not a good idea. Not a good idea. Is there anything else you particularly, a burning aspect of something with me burbling on that we've missed? What would you say would be your key areas? So you said about sustainable transport.
Yes.
Right? You said about refashioning town centres, all of which have to happen, I believe, anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So who are you coming in just... You're not. These are also untried ideas, and they need to be tried, because there's going to be a massive wave of mental health and unemployment. I just don't think people quite get it. This idea of, although the landlords were still allowed to take their rent, which is horrendous, there's going to become a civil unrest. I would say, actually, James, there's going to be civil unrest. I predicted this before.
Yeah.
I seriously did. I predicted this before. For anyone out there who wants to get a barometer of things, I remember saying pre I think it's 2011, wasn't it? The major, don't quote me, I don't care what year it was, when every city basically had a little laugh and kicked off big style. Previous to that, I said to a colleague of mine, there's going to be riots on the streets of major cities in England next year, and if there isn't, I'm going to retire from this job. That was happening then. I can't retire from this job because people don't work in as many different areas of society, and they don't get it. Not everyone. There's loads of brilliant people, more brilliant people than I'll ever be. But it seems decision makers don't get it. They don't have the background. They don't have, they're motivated by all sorts of stuff, but they don't have the experience. They don't get it. They're making the wrong decisions. Not because I say so, because nature says so, because the climate says so, because biodiversity says so. Look at the species of plants and animals that we are, even in England, are losing, let alone in your massive continents and Africa and Australia or wherever. I don't know if Australia is a continent, but let's say it is. I think if people do not start taking back, you said standing up again and fighting for what they think, if they don't take back local democracy, I have great fear. Seriously.
Yes,
fear for the general fibre of our society.
Yeah, I think your talk of civil unrest and stuff, and certainly a lot of people are feeling a great deal of frustration. It's a big case for participatory democracy.
That's
for
right.
people getting involved in the decisions of local government and really being consulted on a much greater scale.
Or maybe local government, taking its head for a you-know-what and going, actually, we've got to be led by what people, as a collective, with enough time and enough reasoned exchange of information for everyone to get on board with the ideas. And I've done consultations for local governments before. It's like, go to where the people are, not where you want them to be. Go to the town hall for consultations, or it's like, no.
Lots of there's been missed opportunities, and I think we need to look really seriously at how we can get more of the public involved in decision making.
Yeah.
If you look at the somewhat controversial cycle lanes that we put in Chippenham, in a bit of a rush because they got some money, and they didn't know exactly what to do. So we'll rush this thing in, and there was a consultation on it, but the vast majority of people didn't know there was a consultation on it. They didn't put a sign up. They could have put a sign up on every single one saying, "Tell us what you think about this," and there wasn't a sign on it. So a lot of it was quite negative, and perhaps not as helpful as it could have been. But it was done in a rush. And hopefully these things can be done better in the future and more thoroughly. But we need to get more people involved.
Do you know what? In my only 23 years experience, I mean, they say it takes 10,000 hours, isn't it, to be good at something, to be really good at something, or 10 years. So I'm double good at what I do, no doubt about it. And I'm gorgeous as well, James, and thank you for pointing that out. So you can imagine how I've struggled all these years. But the idea that I totally agree with you. even our schools are overburdened with the wrong type of pressure. We should be looking at how relationships, all sorts of relationships, to have emotional and the well-being at the centre of everything we do as in our society, so that for the betterment of everyone, to be inclusive, to be it's second nature that everyone's involved in decision making, not like, what's that? Youth councils and stuff. They tried all sorts of stuff. They used to have a fantastic one. Mike White, if you're listening to this, and bless you if you are, because I'm boring myself, but Mike White used to run the youth council over at Caen. Tell you what, as a community, it's got some brilliant stuff going on. Caen Central and stuff, amazing stuff. Really good, really tight fit. They have a completely different type of a community, because they don't have so much of the dormitory aspect, because there isn't unfortunately there isn't a rail. I will go with you and actually re-engage the Beecham lines that were all shut down, and just have more trains run on renewables, less cars. But they used to have a fantastic youth council. I observed it. I was like, well, this is the way forward. This is amazing. This is exactly what should be happening. 16-year-olds, it should be second nature for them to be taken seriously about issues not just that affect them now, but that will affect them in 10 years' time. We've got people now, bless them, who are on the way out, and it ain't because of COVID, making decisions potentially on houses that are going to destroy the environment, the biosphere, possibly that as well, the biodiversity, the life chances, the health, the well-being life chances of children now who will be adults and having children in 10, 15 years' time.
So you say that Caen, they had, in addition to a town council, they had a youth town council?
Yeah, I don't know if it was a youth, but I think it was very well supported by the town. I've got to say, there's some brilliant stuff that people can learn from Caen. It was. Observing it, I was like, whoa, this is it. And I helped facilitate one for Salisbury, a youth council with an amazing. I tell you what, the councils have had brilliant people working for them. I mean, there's a woman called Maria Scordialis who used to work for Wiltshire, absolute genius. Amber Skyring, wherever she is. I'm just saying these names because they just come back to me about all these consultations that used to take place. We used to do so many consultations for community plans in Wiltshire. So, I would go up and down the country being really proud. Always been proud of Wiltshire Social Services. They don't know why it is, but it's really forward thinking. We've done amazing things. Ray Jones he's a big thinker on it now still, Dr. Ray Jones. He used to do amazing stuff for children in care. The social services are absolute golden. We've had some amazing thinkers and officers in all areas of our local council. I've been like, I go seriously Home Office and say, you see how they do it in Wiltshire, blah blah blah, but up in Newcastle, wherever we are, Birmingham, check out Wiltshire. I haven't been able to say that for a while. I haven't been able to, because I'm not allowed to travel up and down the country with other professionals. I haven't been able to say it for a while because there's been a lack of that very thing, a lack of forethought, a lack of actually who are we, what are we representing, instead of party politics or big, conglomerates or multinationals, the people that live in your community. I don't think maybe, I've said this to lots of different people, I don't think you should be allowed to be a politician unless you've lived in a constituency for 5 years. Your kids have to go to the local school.
Yes.
Yeah.
You're only allowed to use the NHS.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Because what decision are you going to make in Parliament? If you have no other choice, if you want to be a politician, you're not allowed to have private schooling. You're not allowed to have it.
Yeah. I like these ideas as well. They talk about large corporations, and that the most well-paid person in the corporation shouldn't be allowed to earn more than 10 times what the least well-paid person. Yeah. So if they want to earn more, they've got to improve the lot of the people at the bottom first.
Yeah.
And maybe you could debate whether 10 times is appropriate, or maybe 5 times, or whatever it is. But
it's how people view money. What's money worth if there's? Because this is the other thing, isn't it? People are, we've been taught to accumulate. We've been taught, material collections of cars, houses, holidays, whatever it is. Think about it now. All of those things, lots of them have been taken away. Why they want to? Nature has given us an opportunity to show us what it looks like if you just don't endlessly consume stuff, if you don't just travel to countries and, you know, the English haven't got a particularly good reputation abroad anyway. It's because they robbed most of the countries they've ever visited years ago. Conquered and divided, you know, think of India, Cyprus, Ireland, you name it, just go Africa, Christ, it goes on and on and on, if there was a Christ. And as soon as they started talking about, you know, they could never imagine what a life would look like without all that consumerism. They couldn't imagine, oh no, you can't, it's progress. We're dying, we're killing our natural habitat. We are not going to be able to exist as a species. The rest of the world will be fine. We will not be here. Ah yes, but have you seen this latest, you know, package holiday? No, you're not. Listen, you know, remember I said before that, you know, the actual solution is less cars. Most people shouldn't be flying on planes. Most people shouldn't be flying planes ever. You should have a lottery. There should be X amount of trips abroad every year. It shouldn't be about being wealthy. It shouldn't be about being rich. You shouldn't have private jets. That's ludicrous. It should be a lottery. Every year there should be a holiday lottery. So we have, and also the bank should be, there should be one bank. It would be the Bank of England, and we all own it. And you get your interest rates because it helps the rest of our society. I prefer, what do you call those, credit unions. Anyway, a lottery for holidays. In other words, if you wanted to go to I don't care where, you would have to put your number each year.
In a very big hat.
In a massive hat that you wouldn't believe. I've got a massive hat, that's why I'm saying it. But
Okay.
yeah, I got a big. You're not allowed to see my hat, mate.
Okay.
Okay. Not until you're elected, then you can see all my hats. No, you just have a like the national lottery. It'd be like if you wanted to go on holiday, take your family to the Maldives, although that's sinking, so maybe not. Anywhere, I don't care where it is. You just do. You couldn't go on one everywhere. You can't, everyone. You can't go on holiday abroad every year.
I read recently that the number of people in the world, or the percentage of people in the world who've been inside an aeroplane is 5%.
Yeah.
So, you know, those of us who have been inside aeroplanes are fantastically privileged.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
I think we don't realise that, you know, take it for granted.
I agree.
It's a normal thing.
I remember, I mean, the first time I travelled on an airplane was because I was the pilot. No, because my father was in the RAF and we were sent to serve over in Cyprus, which you know was great. I don't know what the Cypriots might have thought about having these English people pretending to own some of their country. I don't know if that went down. It certainly didn't in the 50s. They weren't happy about that. But you're right. I didn't realise that wasn't a thing until we came back. And every time we went on holiday, we took a ferry, you know, to Ireland. Because that's really who we were. We couldn't afford to think. Freddie Lakey came, and then you know the skies were the limit. Unfortunately, the environment was the limit, and people didn't know it at the time. People shouldn't fly in airplanes. Virgin, all those things. Yeah, you can have a national carrier if you want. British Airways, not because it's a good company or bad company. Just there should be so few people flying that shouldn't be a thing because we just can't afford it as a species to keep killing our planet with that. And cows and all the other things that fit into it. There's someone sitting here and going, oh God, I love eating meat, I love hunting foxes, I love flying on planes. Who is this imbecile? And my answer to that person is, I'm hardly educated. It's not because of teachers, it's just because of my nature and my whatever my mental state is. I was not easy to educate. I haven't got particularly profound education in the traditional way, but I can get all this stuff. I can get how dangerous the pollutants, organophosphates, all this sort of stuff throughout their thing, polyvinyl chlorates, all this. It's like, I've worked with these industries and they get what I'm saying to them, bizarrely. Petrochemical companies going to get it because I'm only talking about the human aspect of it. So they go, they thought they were going to be like this, but then they went, oh, because we'd like do forum theatre or something, and they go, oh, God, he got onto my defences, and now I'm only talking about a humane thing, about children, about futures and stuff. Not in a, you know, very woolly, and it's fine for people to hug trees and think, because they're lovely things to hug. My daughter loves hugging trees. I don't know what that's about, but she does. It's cheap, at least. You can't hug people, let's face it. But that I can get all these issues, and I seriously, I question, I can't even do my times tables. I am 3/4 an imbecile, but yet I get all these issues. How can these people in power not understand you can't build more roads, you can't build endless houses, you can't just make money from stuff. You certainly can't make money from nature in that way. You can't exploit it. The game's up, industry is up, making crap is up. You can't do it. Shame playing crap isn't, because I support Tottenham and we could do with not playing crap every now and again. But we did very well against Zagreb last night. Then now you know when this was filmed. My wife's family are from Zagreb. It was a very difficult evening. Thank you for asking.
Okay.
They really are. The Tottenham boys. We beat them, didn't we? Yeah. All right. Nice one out there in Zagreb. People in Zagreb go, who is this imbecile? He's telling everybody he's married to one of us. No, it couldn't be possibly true. Right. So I despair sometimes, but. And then I kind of get over it and realise it's my duty, like you're saying about people standing up. A lot of people say, why didn't you run for local council? A, because I'm too busy trying to help vulnerable people, etc., etc. And it's not me being a martyr. I do it, I love it. It's great, rewarding. It's very harrowing, but it's rewarding. I admire people like yourself that are doing it, particularly independents, if they're truly independents. When is the final thing? 11th of April, is it? You have to submit your
I don't know when the final date is. I've already put my papers in.
You have?
Put my nomination papers in.
Does it cost anything? Just be interested
No,
about
it doesn't
Come
cost
on,
you
tell
anything.
everyone at home.
There's a bit of paperwork. I think it should be made easier.
Yeah.
I think there should
How
be
much is
more,
a bit?
It's maybe 4 or 5 sheets of paper, and there's not an awful lot you have to write on them. You have to make a phone call, get some couple of proposer and a seconder to give you some numbers.
What do you mean a proposer? Who's the proposer?
So these are 2 electors from within the ward, and you get their numbers from the electoral register, and you put them on your form. They say, yeah, I'm happy to think you're a suitable candidate.
Sorry, explain that again. So who are these? What, strangers that you don't know?
Well, ideally, people you do know,
Oh, right.
who also will vouch for you and say, that he or she is a decent candidate.
Sorry, man. I'm sorry to keep going over
This
this.
bothers you?
No, I just don't understand that. What happens if you move to a place and you started living here and you didn't have? Who are these people? What possible right have they got to say that you're good, bad, or indifferent?
It's just someone else who lives in the constituency, who lives in the ward, who will vouch for you and say that at least they'll vote for you. If nobody else.
What happens if no one does vote for you?
Well, if no one, it depends if there's any other candidates. I understand that you could get in without being voted.
Oh,
if there's
that's
only one
happened.
candidate. Yeah.
All those people that have been on the town council, that their only ability, should we say, for the job is that they could actually breathe and made it to the town hall. There's, for all those ones that any councillor at home is insulted by me saying that. That means you're one of those people. Everyone else is doing a great job and is really, really good at it. Don't take it personally. And I want to insult the people that struggle to tie their shoelaces. I'm not trying to insult them. I'm merely pointing out the fact. Life, as we know it, has to change forever. It's not okay for people to endlessly just go in and sit in darkened rooms and come up with ridiculous ideas of how we're going to move forward. Right, so that's just to those people at home who are going, what's he talking about? But there are councillors going, I think he's talking about me, and I am talking about you. Don't do it anymore. Retire. So you get two. What are they called? 2 nominees, 2 nominees.
A proposer and a seconder.
Yeah.
You fill in their names. They sign the piece of paper. And,
Yeah.
You put your address in a few places, and you write some numbers down. There's a bit of reading to do. It's not as difficult as it seems, but you have to sort of jump through some paperwork hoops.
Yeah.
Yeah, it'd be nice if it was easier for people to get involved.
Any money involved?
No.
So there's no deposit losing on this sort of scenario?
No. If you spend money to promote yourself, like leaflets or internet or anything, you have to declare how much you spent.
I don't think anyone should. Yeah. I don't think anyone should. I think there should just be one thing sent through everyone's door, just saying. Because what's the point if you're representing a Labour Party? Good luck around here. If you were representing a political party, it doesn't matter what they say. I don't care what any local party politician says. If the head of their party says X, Y, and Z, they are not going to do anything different on local level. So this is what I'm saying, there should be absolutely no party affiliation on a local level. It's like when my child wears my shoes sometimes. I think it's funny that they like, look at me, I'm a big girl or a big boy. In fact, when my boys used to say I'm a big girl, I used to get quite confused. But it's like, yeah, they're pretending to be, grown-ups. It's the same thing with local politicians having parties. Like, shut up! You're not in the game. They're having a different game. You think that you think you're a conservative. You think that one second, let me phone one of the town councillors from Chippenham because, hello, yeah, we've got some ideas. What do you think? Oh, cool, Chippenham think it's a good idea. They didn't consult them. They have no interest in what these, I don't know what you want to call people that don't represent their class or their whatever. I don't get it. It's crazy. So, you go through this little bit of paper, you whatever, and then what? You just voted in, or you're not. How many people can represent the same ward? How many councillors are?
For within the ward, I think it's just one. For within each ward, there's one. I think there's one councillor for each ward.
Right.
There's about 1,200 electors in the ward I'm hoping to represent.
Right.
Which is Seapen Park and Derrells.
Right. Is that where you live?
I live close to Seapen Park.
Right. Okay. I don't get that either on a
Yeah.
local level. How come?
Yeah.
Why are people living in one ward representing another? They don't get
So
that.
there's a friend of mine who's already lives in the same ward as me,
Yeah.
who's representing my ward, and I'd vote for her, and I wouldn't want to compete with her. She's
Well, yeah, but that's how party politics works. So you got people here in this town that are married who are the same thing, and they represent. Don't even represent the street that they live in. It's just bull. I think you thought I was going to say bull. I'm not. I'm saying bull. I want the French people who are watching this to say, hey, shame about that.
You want to keep the editing interesting, do you?
It's him. I love it, man. Every week it's like, we don't edit out much, basically. And when I'm in prison, you'll remember that and go, yeah, I think I know why. Right. So you represent the thing. One could do it. So on a town council level, people might want to be a town council and not get in. Is that right?
Yeah, I'm sure that there'll be more candidates than there are.
And do you think that's going to happen this year? There's going to be more candidates than places.
There's certainly, I know some wards there are more than one candidate going for the seats. So yeah, it'll come down to the votes. So
I wonder, Julius, I'm looking into the camera here. He's behind the camera, but I'm saying this as if he's watching it when he's editing. Find out if over the last how many elections, how many times there have been
uncontested seats.
Uncontested seats. Be interested, and then let's have a little breakdown. Let's have a visual breakdown, and can we have it in Latin as well? No, not Latin. He would do it. He would. He's brilliant. Yeah, he's annoying like that. It would be in Latin, and I'd be made look a bit the fool than I already have made myself by dressing myself today. I'd be interested to know. I would be interested to know. And when's the elections? May the 6th?
May the 6th, yes.
May the 6th.
There'll be postal voting from the end of April.
The end of April?
Well, around the 22nd, I think, of April.
Okay. All right. How long have we had?
1 hour 10.
An hour and 10?
Yeah.
Oh my God, you have to take most of the stuff I said out. You're very... listen, I haven't met one person yet. I would love... please, someone come on and have so I can have a really good at crack, as in crack at what they're trying to represent. Everyone so far. It's really difficult. Not that I don't have a political affiliation. I'm not a communist. I'm not a state every time. Just because people pigeonhole people. I just want to try something that's never been tried before. On every level, emotionally, sustainably, on every level, it's like, nah, man, and I'm calling out local Conservatives because they need to have a long, hard look at themselves and go, yeah, he's right. I've done some reading. I'm not really a part of that. I'm not, I don't want to be. I thought I should be. You shouldn't be. You should be kind. You should be gentle. You should be humane. You should be more like this chap here. Spinning